Okay, so for this week, we're going to have a shorter video, and we're going to focus mainly on just remixing things that we already have. So there may be a few new things thrown in, but for the most part, we're just going to be playing with the code we've got and tweaking things a bit, maybe moving some things around, um, and just making this website what we want it to be. So in the past, I've instructed you mainly just to mimic what I'm doing, just copy it, paste it, type in, follow along, and that's a good fine way to start learning. But over time, you want to be using some of those patterns that you're mimicking in your own way. So that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video, is trying to use some of the things we've learned so far from our homework and from these videos and make this website what we want it to be. All right, so looking at this, I think one thing I would want to change about this, probably if I was going to actually deploy this, is maybe to move this gallery section to its own page. So, I mean, it is fairly common to have like a one-page website where all the content is on one page. But I think in some cases it is helpful to have separate kind of landing pages for your work. So if I was a photographer, for instance, which I'm not, but if I was, I may want to have like a portfolio gallery type section where I put all that stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's move this stuff to a different page. So here we are in our code. And if I go down to my gallery section that we created last week, I'm just going to cut that out. So select it, make the code bigger here. Select the code and then hit Command X. So that stands for cut. And then we need to make a page for that to go. So I'm going to make a new page called gallery.html. Remember to put that extension on there. And I'm going to paste that in there. So that's my code for my gallery. However, it doesn't have all the kind of more template code, like my header, my footer, all that stuff. So actually what I would recommend doing is going ahead and copying everything on this page. And I'm going to put it above this where I copied that in. So this has everything on my homepage on it. I obviously don't need all that stuff, so let me go ahead and delete all the stuff we don't need. So basically everything inside the main tag. So you should have like an empty main tag there. And then I'm going to move that gallery stuff back in. And so now, if we look at gallery in our browser, just go ahead and do that real quick. Right, reveal in Finder. And we're going to open it up in Chrome. So there we are, we have a single gallery. Now, one thing you'll notice, I've still got my footer here, but I don't really have like a good header. Like what site am I on right now? So we probably still need to bring over at least some context from our homepage into this page. So let me think about that for a second. Maybe what we could do is, let's just start with this row where we have our bio. We obviously don't need to repeat our whole bio on this page. Let's go back to our gallery page. And instead of putting our bio on here, maybe just a brief description of my work as a photographer if I did that. Like below are some samples of my work. And then maybe instead of contact me, since we're making a more direct CTA call to action, I could do book me or something for the button. And you could even change this greeting. Instead of like, hi, Mark, it could be something like sample photography work or something more literal. Now, there's still a problem with this. Like, we've got some context now for this page, but I don't see a way to get back to the home page. Like, there's really no navigation or structure to this. So, and also from this page, I have no way to get to my gallery now that actually I need to save that. I've removed it from my home page. So how do I get to the gallery? Well, this is where you have to introduce some sort of level of navigation. So that's what we'll go ahead and do next. And so if I look at my structure here, let's put navigation. Let me think. Let's try putting it right above that like header section inside the main tag. So there is a tag for nav, and it really is just a box. It doesn't do anything special, but it is more semantically correct. So let's go ahead and use that. Nav. And then oftentimes you'll just have a list of links kind of in nav. So this will be a link to my homepage. So the href should be set to index.html, which is the name of the homepage. And maybe just say, hey, home. I'm going to duplicate that, Command-Shift-D. This one will go to the gallery page. Gallery. And let's take a look at what that looks like. So yeah, I've got some links up here. Now, one thing about navigation in general, and this is kind of a usability thing to make sure it's obvious what page a person is on, is that you should highlight the page that the person is currently active on. So I think we can do that by just adding a class maybe to this homepage. So class equals active. And remember, a class is just a way to give you a name so that you can style that thing individually in CSS. So we've already got a bunch of link styles. Let me just find those real quick. So we've got this hover style, like this gradient thing. What if we wanted our selected state, so this class equals active, what if we wanted that to have the same style as hover? Well, we could try that out by just adding that to the list here. So a.active. So that means not only will that apply when I hover over it with my mouse, but it'll also apply with the class of active on it. So let's see what that looks like. And yeah, you can see it's got that kind of highlight state there. And we may also want to style these menu items differently from the rest of the links on the page. Maybe make them a little bit bigger, more obvious. We could do that by making a special style rule for nav links. So nav A. So nav, and then go inside of nav is A. That's what the space does. It just kind of drills in. And then I could say, let's say font size. Let's make it a bit bigger. 1.5 EM. So 1.5 times bigger the baseline is what that means. And let's take off the underline. So text extraction none. Yeah, and you can see now they're kind of bigger links there. And what if we wanted them to actually just look more like the rest of the text and make it white? So home and gallery. All right. So now I don't particularly like looking at this. This gradient is a bit extreme here. I think it's a bit extreme for these two. So I think I'm going to knock that back some, make that less obvious. Let me think about the best way to do that. Well, we've got this. Let's go ahead and use, I was going to say use our color picker, but it's not showing up for me. Okay, so we can do this in Chrome. Go ahead and select, inspect it. And there's that highlight cover, which I can't actually use in Chrome either. So, okay, here it is. Highlight linear gradient. And let's knock the opacity back on that to be pretty subtle. Like, it's hard to see this probably in the video, but it is like making this highlight much more subtle. And actually, let's copy that color and paste it into our code first of all. So we're changing the highlight here. And you can do this differently on yours. Like, obviously you chose different colors for yours. You may not even want to use a gradient. That's totally fine. This is just me iterating in the same way I'm expecting you to iterate as well. What if I just made this a blanket highlight? What would that look like? So yeah, it kind of just looks like more of a little kind of box there. And what if I did the same thing here? So this is the hover state and the active state now, actually. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. I think, I mean, in reality, I would spend more time playing with this to get it exactly how I wanted. Also, this font here is looking a bit too big for me now. So 1.5 EM is probably a bit too huge. So nav A, let's do 1.3 or 1.2. Yeah, that's a bit better. All right, so gallery now goes to the gallery page, but notice that the nav is not there. So I need to like copy and paste that. So copy and paste the nav over to gallery in the same spot. And I need to move this class of active. Instead of the home page, now it's the gallery page that's active, right? There we go. So gallery, home. let's put a underline on that active state as well. So text decoration underline. That'll make it more obvious that, yeah, we are indeed on that page. So you can see now it's underlined. Okay, so I think that's a bit better. There's definitely more work I could do on this homepage as well, make it more interesting, maybe adding some visual images or icons to things. I won't do all that right now, though. To show you how you might add another page, let's say I wanted to add a page for books, like favorite books that I was reading or something like that. Well, it's really easy. You just add it to the index page. Oops, I didn't change the heading, so books. So home, gallery, books now. And then I would also have to add that to the gallery page too. So books, books. And then remove the class of active on books because it's not active. So now we have home gallery, and books actually doesn't exist. So if I click it, I get that. But you could create as many, the point is you could create as many of those pages as you like, and then add them to your navigation somewhere. So again, you're not going to be following this exactly. I'm just trying to show you how you might reorganize some things. So I would encourage you just to take, as much time as you need, moving code around, tweaking styles, getting it to the point where you're ready to show it to the world. So we're not expecting it to be perfect at this phase. It's supposed to be kind of a simple informational site, not really a fancy thing. But it should at least have good information on the page about you, and it should represent your work and what you want to communicate well. It should also have good calls to action, like what you want people to actually do with the page. And so those are the things that we're focused on right now. It's not so much about copying exactly what the code does in the demo. It's more about getting the page exactly where you want it to be.